We'll start streaming. Okay, lay down. Hey everybody, welcome to Fab Fit Friday. My favorite day of the week. I do want to say today, this has been a kind of a bummer week. I didn't feel well Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and yesterday I felt better. My husband went for a COVID test because he was concerned, and in my heart of hearts I really think he's fine, but they are, oh wait a minute, they are a little backed up on their getting tests back, so we haven't got the official result back, but I feel better. He isn't sneezing as much, so anyway, it was a sort of a disaster in terms of not feeling well. And then I forgot I promised I would watch my friend's puppy dog this weekend, so it's been a little bit hard to get stuff done, but I am excited because we are going to do cover hem today, although I think I'm talking to an empty room right now. I am live. All right, so welcome. What I'm going to do today is show you how to set up your serger for a cover hem, and then we'll troubleshoot the cover hem, and then we're going to test using double-sided fusible tape to support the edge. So that's what we're going to do today in an effort to finish the crop layering tee. Hi Janie, welcome. Let me just flick on my other light here. Hold on. Ooh. Plug it in. I'm sorry. Ooh. Okay. Okay, that's better. Oh, hi Diane. Oh, it's okay. Hi Diane. Hi Diane, Diane and Janie. Welcome. I just think it's one of those things, and honestly, I feel like it was more allergy related than anything else, because it was all, I had like a sore throat and a stuffy nose, and my husband just had a lot of sneezing going on, so but I think we're going to pull through, which is the good news. All right, so today I thought I would set up for a cover hem, and then I'm going to show you how to troubleshoot that if it's not working exactly right. And I love my Ovation serger, but one of the challenges when you're working with an Ovation or other model or brand of serger that doesn't have individual tension settings is sometimes you have to figure out a workaround. So I'm going to show you what I mean by that in a minute. Let me just straighten this out. Okay, and then I'm going to switch my view. Let me see here. Okay, that's not a good view. Let me just get this so it's there. This is going to be better like this. Let's do that. All right, so that's going to be better. And you can see I'm kind of excited. I purchased colored threads so I can do demos. So I got this lovely Madeira embroidery thread. I got yellow, red, blue, and green. So when I'm sharing how to do something, I can show you, and we'll have good contrast. So we'll be able to see which thread is not stitching out properly. Oh, Diane said, Juliet Fabric Mart says she emailed you information for registration. Okay. Hi, Diane. Oh, I said hi already. All right. Hey. All right, so you may have seen I posted a picture in our group of this very, come here, come here. Look at this, look at this, look at this cutie pie. I'm just going to introduce you to her. So if I'm slightly distracted, it's because I have Sadie this weekend. She's a baby Vizsla, related to, she's actually like a niece, because my dog Sophie's sister had a litter, and this is one of her puppies, so I have to keep half an eyeball on her. All right, just lay down. She was sleeping, and I thought I was going to get away with doing this Fab Fit Friday without having to watch her, but then she woke up. All right, so let's get going. I'm going to switch my view here, and just so you can see what's happening, I'm going to move this over here. Let me see here. Let me just move myself down in this corner so you can see the top. I have blue in my left needle. I have red in my right needle. And I also have yellow in my chain looper. So that's the threading for the serger. And what I'm going to do here is, let me just pivot down like this, because I want to share with you what we're going to do here. I have fabrics that are the fabric I used to make my layering tee, my crop layering tee, and my plan for this is I'm going to send it to my social media manager Brittany, and she's going to try it on, and we're going to maybe make some adjustments to the pattern. I'm not super in love with the way the sleeves came out, so I may be playing with that some more. But I did finish both the sleeves, so they're both on. Okay, and we're ready to hem. So I'm going to put that aside for right now. So what I want to show you here is we're going to do a test. I am going to take my iron here, and I'm going to press some of this Sokeezy double-sided fusible tape onto a scrap here. So I've got it right here, and I'm going to just put the fusible tape down like this, and the paper fell off. So I think if you have this tape for a while, sometimes the paper can get separated. So I'm just going to realign it like this. It still works fine, and I'm going to trim it so it's even with my scrap, and I'm going to fuse it on. Okay, so I'm fusing it to the wrong side of the edge of this knit with the paper to protect it like this. Okay, then I can let it dry for a second. Oh, Diane says that Sadie is adorable. She is adorable. I just forgot how much work puppies were. All right, now I'm going to peel the paper off, and you can see this comes off really easily, the Sokeezy double fusible tape. So now you can see it there, I believe. I'm going to fold it up like this. And I'm not rubbing when I press, I'm just sort of patting it down. So definitely, if you're going to use a fusible on a knit, please test it on a scrap. Of course, you're always going to want to test your stitch on a scrap as well, so you always want to test. Let me just show you the packaging. This is the double-sided fusible tape from Sokeezy. Okay. All right, so I've got a sample here that has the tape holding it. And what I want to show you here is, see how stretchy this tape is? Okay, so I pulled this out, and I haven't used it in a while, but I want to give it a try and see what it does to the edge of this knit. So we're going to do one without any, and we're going to do one with it. All right, get over here. Lay down. Just lay down. Lay down. Ugh. All right, let's see if we can get her to lay down for 2 minutes. Okay, so just to let me just lift this up here. I just want to review. Does everybody who's watching, are you guys familiar with how to thread your sergers for a cover hem? Just to explain, the first thing, this you'll notice is the nice table attachment versus the blade or knife protector. So if I were to take this off, just to show you, this is the piece I had on before. So if you have a machine that does both serging and cover hem, you're going to want to take off this this first, okay? You're going to want to make sure you lock your upper looper down, and you want to put your knife down as well, because once you put this table on, what happens is it creates a flat surface to work, but you can see here there is no room for the knife and the upper looper. Let me just, whoa, I'm just going to make this a little bit darker, as you can see. Okay, so make sure you put the table attachment on, make sure you put your upper looper down, make sure you put your knife down, and then I have my needles threaded, and what I want you to notice here, I have the left and right needle in, and what that's going to give us is a wide cover hem. Okay, so this is a wide cover hem because I'm not using the middle needle. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to try this on these scraps. So first I'm going to try it on the scrap that has the double-sided fusible tape. Okay, so we're going to try that. My stitch length is about 3, and I have my serger set up so that the chain stitch thread, or the chain looper thread, is set for cover hem, and I have my tension on my needles set at 5 right here. Okay, now the thing about the Ovation is it does both needles all at once, so if it doesn't do individual tensions, and I believe that's where I'm going to have the problem to show you in a minute. And that's why I used blue in the left needle and red in the right needle. So let's stitch this. You always want to start stitching with fabric under the needles because that helps the stitch start to form faster. So I'm just going right along the edge here. I'm not really being straight, I just want to try it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold this piece up, and I'm going to stitch on that as well. So I'm just going to, basically I'm just going to keep going onto this one. Now this is the one that doesn't have any stabilizing. Okay. And then we're going to look at what's happening at the bottom. So the Ovation will let me chain off a little bit, so I'm just going to cut a short tail here. Let's look at these two samples out of the gate. Oh, the other thing is my differential feed is at N right now. Okay, so I think you can see, even though this is crooked, let me just make it a little bit lighter now so you can see these two samples here. Okay, this is the one with the fusible tape, and I think you can see it's really nice and smooth and stretchy. Let's look at the wrong side though, and you can see it's a flaming mess. Okay, and this is what I want to talk about here. And then the one that doesn't have the fusible tape doesn't lay as nice. So I'm going to lay them here so you can see. This one is smoother. That's got the fusible tape. This one doesn't have fusible tape. It's not as it doesn't lay as smooth, but it's also not quite as messy as the tape. So the one with the tape is actually stitching out yuckier than the one that doesn't have the tape, although neither one is fabulous. So what I want to show you here is, let's see how close I can get here to show you. Okay, you can see what's happening is the blue thread and the red thread are the needle threads, and they're just way too loose, and it's making a big honking mess. So what I'm going to do first to try to fix this is I'm going to come up here to my tension on my needles, and I'm going to make it higher. So I'm going to put it on 7, and then we're going to stitch again. And I think I'm just going to go with, you know, without any fusible tape, because I think at the end of the day either one will work. I'm going to put my differential feed on 1.3 and see if that makes it stitch better. Alright, so now the only thing I've changed is I've increased the tension on my needles. Alright, so let's see how this looks now. Alright, so you can see it's much better, and I would even go so far as to say that the right needle with the red thread has perfect tension, but you can see the blue left needle tension is still not good. Okay, and this is the problem I have with my Ovation serger. It's hard for me to get both the right and left needles to be good, and the problem becomes that I don't have individual tension for these needles. You can see here there's no individual tensions, it's just a one adjustment for both. So I'm going to max it out to 9, and I'm going to max it out to 9 and see if it stitches better. I'll just stitch on the opposite side of this one for now. And let's see if this comes out better. Okay, and you can see it really did not fix the blue. The blue still looks messed up, and also now I just think it's too tight. So I'm going to put the tension back at 7, which fixed the red. Then what I'm going to do is, and I've been thinking about this in terms of the practicality of how I can get this to work, but basically what I'm going to do here is I am going to show you how I know it's the needle tension that is the problem. I'm going to put the fabric under here. I'm going to start stitching. Okay, and as I start stitching now, I'm going to stitch half of it regular. And then for the other half, I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to hold the blue thread between my fingers as it goes under the machine, or into the, you know, I'm going to hold the blue thread in my fingers lightly to give it more tension. Alright, so what you can see now is, let me just zoom back down so you can see. Oops. Alright, so what you can see here is holding on to that thread really improved the stitch. So here's where I started holding on to it, and you can see it's stitching almost perfectly now because I tightened that left needle a little bit. And you can see on this side, before I started doing it, or before I started before I started holding the blue thread, it's still messed up there, but then over here it's not messed up. Okay, so the tension is better, but I think I was holding it a little bit too hard, because then you'll notice it starts to tunnel slightly. So let me just switch my view here for a second. Alright, so what that means is, for the Ovation, we have to figure out a way to make the left needle a little bit more tense without making it too tight so it tunnels on the top, because we were able to fix the red or right needle tension by adjusting the tension discs properly. So I think the first thing I'm going to try is I'm going to change the thread path of the left needle. So if you look at my serger from the back here, let me just rise this up a little bit. Okay, so right now I have my blue thread in this, I'm going to unthread it. And I'm just going to see if that makes a difference if I put it in a different thread path. So right now I'm just working backwards. I'm going to take it out of the thread path that's in. So I'm just going to work backwards and take it out. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I'm going to switch it over to over one. So right now my red thread, I'm just going to take it out. My red thread is in the center thread path. So I'm going to move my left needle over to the right path. And the serger's not going to know that I, have them in the wrong paths here. I just want to try and see if it's the thread path itself that's causing the problem. So now I've got it in a different thread path. And what we're going to do is I'm going to rethread it and see if that fixes it. So again, and I'm just going to thread the needle the same. I'm going to put it back in the left needle even though it's in the right thread path now. Because it occurred to me when I was playing with this before I came on that maybe it's that left thread path that's causing, that maybe there's some lint in there or something. So let me just switch it and see. Okay, so now I've got it all. The only change I've made now is to move the thread over to a different thread path. And what I want to do is just try it and see if I just want to try it and see if that fixes our tension issue. So let me get another piece of knit here. I'm going to fold it in half. And then I'm going to zoom in so you can see. And let's try this and see if that fixed it. All right, let's see. And oh, I'm so happy. Look at that. Let me just zoom in so you can see this. Okay, so I think you can see now that for the most part, this stitch is significantly better. I mean, the blue is still not perfect, but you can see compared to how it looked before. I'll get one of the other ones. You can see how much better it is. All right, so I think part of my agita is my left thread path might need to be cleaned out. I'm going to get my my dental floss and I'm going to try flossing that thread path and see if I can clean it out later. But basically now I think that this is a nice cover hem, a nice quality cover hem, because the tension for the most part is pretty good. I mean, I think, let me just make it a little bit tighter and try it one more time. So now I've made it like a little bit past 7 for a tension. I'm just going to try it one more time here. I'm using these little scraps because I wanted to use the same fabric and I ran out of this fabric, so this is literally all the fabric I have left. Let me just stop and say hi, Janie. Oh, Janie said yes, she knows how to do cover hem. Judy, Ann, and Netwear, welcome, ladies. It's okay that you're late. I decided today what we're going to do is a cover hem troubleshooting session. Let me move myself over here so I can see myself. Okay. All right, so now let's try this one more time. And all I did this time was just make it a little bit more tense. Just a little bit. All right, so I would say that that's the best. Okay, so I had to move my tension all the way to just over 7 to get it to look this nice. And I changed my thread path from the left chain needle to the right path. So even though I'm using the left and right needle, I'm using the center and right thread paths because I think there's something in my left thread path that's making it not stitch nice. So now we have a nice quality stitch. Really all you should see on the bottom of a cover hem is the chain looper thread. Okay, so that's what the yellow is. If I flip it over, you can see I have blue and red in my needles. And really it's the other way. Let me just switch it. Okay, so really it's like this, blue and red. Okay, so left and right. So that I think is a nice quality stitch, and that is the wide cover hem. So what I'm going to do now is, just to show you the difference, I'm going to take the needle out. Oh, hi Carol, welcome. I am going to just slide the left needle over to the center so I can show you the difference. Now, it's my opinion that the wide cover hem is more sporty. So if you're trying to get a sporty look, I like this wide cover hem. And what I'll do is I'm going to just stitch it right next to, just going to stitch right on the edge here. Let me see if I can stitch right on the very edge next to it to show you the other one. Maybe I'll just do a crisscross here. Okay, so this is just to show you, I just want to show you the difference in widths here. Okay, so you can see we have the narrow cover hem and the wide cover hem. Okay, so I just wanted to show you those two different widths. And I think I like the narrow one better for garments. And so what I'm going to do, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to leave these threads in because I really feel like the shirt I'm working on is going to be just a sample. And I've prepped the sleeve to do the hem. And if you remember, this hem it's got a split, meaning it doesn't go around in a circle. So I want to show you how I prepped it. Oh, and let me just see here. Pat says, thank you for this info. I have a cover stitch machine and I'm not always happy with the stitch. Yeah, it's, you know, the funny thing is every serger is going to have its own little idiosyncrasies. So no matter what brand you have, and no matter what model you have, you always want to do a sample first. And if you're having trouble identifying which thread is with which, just put in different colors so you can see where it's coming from. And what I want to do is show you here on the inside of this sleeve, what I did was I fused the tape onto the hem already. So you can see it's fused and ready to go. I don't have tape underneath the facing, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the end, and I'm going to just hem straight across to the other end, and then I'm going to pull the stitches through to the inside and just gently tie them. That's how I'm going to start and stop. Now, you know that, or I don't know if you know, but the front stitches or the first stitching of a serge seam, those stay locked. The ones at the end of the seam do not stay locked. You can easily take that out. So I'm going to show you a way to lock your ending stitches here. All right, so let's try to hem this sleeve, and because it's this tiny little circle, I'm going to turn the sleeve inside out like this. So now I can work inside the circle. So I'm going to start right on the end, and in order to do that, I think what I'm going to do is just butt that fabric up against the needles, and I'm going to lift my needles and just scooch it that little bit farther back so that the fabric is literally right under those needles. Just want to make sure you guys can see. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start stitching. And I don't have a hem guide, so I'm just going to make sure the edge is staying even right here. And I'm just going to turn it a little bit as we go. Oh, and I reversed or flipped the seam. I clipped the seam and I flipped it. I'm going to show you that when I prep the second sleeve, but I reduced the bulk over the seam here, and I think it'll make it easier to go over. Okay. Okay, so when I get to the end, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hand walk it until I take the last stitch that I think I can get in the actual fabric. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift my presser foot, and I'm going to use my stiletto. I'm going to reach under here. I'm going to get those threads, and I'm going to pull them towards me. Okay, so they're forward. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull back and over to the left, and that's going to help lock those stitches in place. But I'm also going to leave myself a tail, and you can see I have way more threads than I need here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tease out the extra. Okay, so now I have 3 threads, and notice all 3 threads are on the wrong side of my seam. And I think if we look at this from the right side, I'm pretty happy with my stitch. I think that looks nice. Let's look at it from the right side for a second. And I think I actually could have gone a couple extra stitches off the end too, but you can see here the hem stops right before the corner, but because we pulled everything, they're all to the back, and then I can just tie a nice loose knot here to secure these stitches. And I'll do the same thing in the start of the seam. I'll just tie left over right, right over left to make a square knot. Okay, so that takes care of my tails. And then I'm going to just, oh, hi Lisa. I am using stretch needles in my serger because when I was using regular needles, I was getting a lot of skip stitches. And actually, let me see if I saved my first, when I was playing before I came on. Just trying to see if I can find the one with this. So when I first started playing, you can see I had some skip stitching going on. And so I switched to stretch needles, and that actually made it much better. So if your serger is skipping stitches, go from regular needles to stretch needles. Okay, so I tied that knot, and then on the other side over here, we have the chain. So I think actually I'm not going to tie a knot here. I'm just going to cut this, and I can dot it with some fray check, or I don't have to cut it. I can find my little bodkin and weave it in, or a large eye needle. So if I take my large eye needle and just sort of weave it underneath the looper threads, the chain looper threads, and even with the narrow, I can probably get in there, and you only have to weave it back at like a 1/4 inch, like that. Make sure that's sharp so you can see. Once the eye of the needle is right next to the thing, I'm going to put my chain in there, or my tail, and then I'm just going to pull it through. Okay, so that makes a neat finish there, and then I can just clip that. And if I want to dot it with a fray check, I can dot it with a fray check for extra safety. But you can see from the right side, yeah, I think that looks pretty nice for a hem. And from the wrong side, you can see the tension is pretty good. I mean, it's a little futzy in places, but you know, considering where I started, I think that's a pretty good tension. Now here's another thing. Obviously, you want to pick a chain, unless you're trying to make a decorative, you know, a decorative detail with the cover hem. If you use thread that matches your fabric, any little inconsistencies will be less noticeable. But this is red and blue. You can see that's looking pretty nice. So now what I want to do is, let me show you how I prepped the sleeve. I'm going to prep the second sleeve here. I'm going to bring my little ironing thing back. And let me just make myself a little bigger here. All right, so let me move this over here for now. Okay, so what I'm going to do, here's my sleeve. And if you remember what we did to finish, let me just put this over here for now, for a second, hold on. Okay, so if you remember last week, what we did for the sleeve is we created the facing to finish these holes, and then I turned the facing to the right side and sewed across to finish the corners of the sleeves. So now what I have here is I had to clip it, see, that much, so I could turn it under. So now what I'm going to do is fuse the tape onto that edge. So let me do it like this so you can see. I'm going to start on one end, and I'm going to push down my hem. So you can see the hem extends past the, you know, where it's finished. Okay, so that's where I'm going to start. Just get some, let me just get a piece of the fusible, double-sided fusible here. I think I might have said at the beginning that the two pieces fell apart here, so I'm just going to put the fusible tape, I'm going to lay it on. And I think I'm just going to pin the part that I clipped out of the way so I can just lay this flat like this. So this fusible tape needs to go right on the raw edge of the wrist edge, like this. And then I'm going to put the paper, protective paper, right on top of it to protect my iron, like this. And then I'm going to get my iron over here, and I'm just going to use the tip of my iron to fuse the very end. And then once that's fused, I can work around. So now we'll go across the middle. Now here's where I want to reduce the bulk. So see how we have the seam allowance right here? Let me make it a little bit bigger so you can see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip my seam allowance a 1/2 inch from the raw edge so I can flip it to offset it. So I'm going to have the seam allowance going in the left direction, or pointing that way. I'm going to put the fusible tape on it like this. And then the seam allowance above the tape is going to be going to the right, so when I fold it, it will not be so bulky. Let's back the picture up a little bit here. Alright, so I'm going to just, oops, I want to make sure I'm not, see, I saw from the underneath I was making a pleat here. I don't want to have a pleat. You want to make sure this is nice and smooth. So just make sure you're not stretching your knit when you're applying this tape. And of course, going forward, when I make my next one of these, I think I'm going to fuse this tape onto the edge of the sleeve before I sew it together, because it's easier to obviously put this tape on when it's laying flat versus trying to do it now that it's sewn into a circle. But I'm just going to take my time here and finish fusing. If any of you were watching earlier, I'm babysitting my friend's Vizsla puppy, and she's in my studio with me right now. And so just between you and me, she's being a very good girl. She's laying in her bed, listening. She's listening to the serger tutorial. Okay. All right. Okay, so I've got this fused all the way to the other side. So now I'm going to peel the paper off. Okay. And you can see here, this is what I wanted to show you. The seam allowance is going this way, and this seam allowance is going that way. When I fold it up now, they're going to be offset, and it creates a much less bulky intersection there. Okay, and I'm just going to tuck the end of the allowance underneath the end of the facing here, and I'm just going to give it all a nice press. Like this. I'm just going to give it a nice press. And now what I'm doing is, as I'm pressing the hem up, because that tape is double-sided fusible, okay, but I just really wanted to show you this. Offsetting your seam like this really reduces the bulk. So look how nice and flat that is, because the seam is over here and then the other seam is over here. Okay, so that makes a nice unbulky transition across the underarm seam there. All right, let me just finish pressing this. I wonder if yeah. All right. Okay, so you can see I have a pretty neat looking edge. My corner here is having an issue, but this, I sewed this wrong when I understitched it. This, remember last week I understitched one side, and the understitching is preventing this from laying flat. So like I said, this one is just going to be a sample for Brittany to try on. You can see this corner is very, very nice when I didn't understitch, so not understitching made it look nicer. Then see over here I tried to understitch and then I couldn't get it to turn into that corner neatly, or as neatly as I would have hoped. Let me just see if I can give it a press with the iron and get it to look a little bit neater here. Oh, Lisa says, great tip on clipping the seam allowance. It's not fun to get hung up on the bump. No, I know. It's, you know, and the thing is, you would think, you know, you're just working with a thin knit, but it does add bulk, because if you're thinking about it here, you've got 2 seam allowances in under each looper thread, so that's 4 layers of fabric, plus the hem itself and the garment itself. That's 6 layers of fabric. So if you could break it up to 3 and 3 layers, so there's only 3 layers now on either side because we flipped the seam. All right, so I think for the most part I have this shaped up pretty nicely here, but I want to point out to you again, the corner that's not understitched looks much nicer than the corner that I tried to understitch here. You know, it just came out a little bit funky, so I won't be understitching anymore. All right, so now let me just bring the serger over. And I am going to just, boy, I feel like I'm in the way no matter where I put myself. I'll put myself over here now. Okay, so I'm going to turn this sleeve inside out, and I'm going to hem it. Let's see if I can start and stop right on the very edge this time. So again, to get it so it's right on the edge, I'm going to put my needles down so I could butt that fabric up against the needles. Then I'm going to lift the needles and get the fabric so it's just on the very edge. Okay, so I've got that working. Okay, so let's start stitching. Now, I'm using this last indicator ridge right here. Let me see if I can turn it better so you can see. Let me see if I can get it so you can see a little better. Maybe if I just get it up here like this. I think that's a better view. So this little indicator ridge right here is where I'm trying to keep the edge of the hem. So I'm this very right hand indicator ridge is where I'm trying to line up my edge of my hem with. Oh, and I think my needles are not threaded. See that? My needles are not threaded. So obviously something happened there. Let me, yeah, see, I've sewed nothing. Perfect. Oh. All right, let me just Rethread my needles. I'm going to put the blue thread in the right needle because the blue thread is in the right threading path. And then I'm going to do my left needle. Oops. Okay. All right, so just make sure my chain looper thread is it somewhere? I don't see my chain looper thread, so I am going to pull it back slightly. I'm just gonna oh, wait a minute. I'm just gonna rethread my chain looper thread. I think it came out a little bit. So you can see here, here's my chain looper thread. You want about a 4-inch tail when you start serging, and it just stays in this little basket on the ovation or just in there. Don't pull it up, just leave it inside the machine. All right, so let's try this again here. Now I think I'm threaded properly. I'm going to put my hem edge under there, and again right up against the needles, and then I'm going to lift my needles up and I'm going to let it just, you know, make sure my needles are on the fabric. Okay, let's go. Stitching this time? I think I am stitching this time. Just work a little bit at a time. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to stitch all the way to the end. Then I'm gonna, let's try picking it up from here. Lift this up, forward, and then back to lock that. Okay, and then I'm gonna give myself some tail. All right, let's look at this one. All right, so this came out pretty nice too. Oh, hi April. April says, hi everyone, I'm new to live chats. I purchased your grading workbook and I'm really excited to read it. I'm really having a tough time finding vintage patterns in my size. Oh, that's a perfect use for the grading workbook. If you have questions, please, you know, email me and I'll help you. I think that's very cool. You might want to see if you can get in touch with Lisa Neal, N-E-E-L. She's on Instagram because she does a lot of vintage patterns. And she's part of Twins and Needles. Maybe I'll put a link to them under the video when I'm done because they're a cool, they're twins, Lara and Lisa Neal, and they started a little company called Twins and Needles. And actually I teach sewing classes for them. So next month I'm actually teaching my Happy Pants fitting class for them, but I know Lisa Neal does a lot of vintage patterns. All right, so I'm pretty pleased with this. So again, I'm just going to finish it the same way. I'm just going to tie the ends on the ending side. I'm going to tie a knot, and on the side where I've got the Oh, well this side, oh, well because I started from scratch, I don't have any tails. So I'll try to pull those through and tie a knot to finish this hem. And this got a little funked up right here, so I may have to go back in and fix that. It got a little bit wonky. But for the most part, that's how you're going to finish your hems on your sleeves. And then just quickly to wrap things up today, I think I'm going to try, for the actual hem of the top itself, I am going to, oh, Netwear can see a big difference the tape made. Yes, it does. It's much smoother. So I have my hem here, and I think because it works so well, I'm going to apply the tape to the, you know, the entire hem as well, because I just think it works much nicer. So let me get my cut and press board. I'll just bring this one over. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just get I'm going to turn my shirt inside out. I just think it's easier to work on pressing it from when it's inside out. Now I can do the same thing with these seams. So you can see here is my side seam right here, and if I were to press it flat, okay, the seam itself is going to want to go towards the back, so I'm just going to press it towards the back this way. And then what we'll do is we'll flip the seam underneath the tape to go in the opposite direction. Okay, so what did I do with my other little, I have two little cut and press boards, because what did I do with the other one? I'll just put this here. Okay, I just want to make room so my iron's not right in front of my thing here. Alright, so here we have the side seam, and see how it's going in this direction. I'm going to start with the tape. We're just going to work a little at a time. Now obviously working on this is going to be easier because it's a nice big flat area. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip this, and I'm going to turn it in the opposite direction. So this one's going to go like this. I'm going to take my tape, and I'm just going to lay it like this, so you can see that I should be able to get like a good 5 or 6 inches at a time working at the hem. But what I wanted to show you was in better detail how the seam is going this way, but it's going that way there. Okay, so let's just get another section of the hem. And again, you don't want to stretch the fabric when you're fusing this tape on. You want it to just be, you know, 1 to 1. All right, and then I'm just going to get myself another section of hem. And I ripped my tape, so I'm going to start it back up again here. Okay, so we're coming to the other side seam. So again, this time the bottom part's going to go here, and this one's going to go like this. So it's going to be like that. Oops, can you see? Try not to rub when you press this tape on. All right, I've gone over both side seams now, so I'm just going to cut about what I think I need here so I can move this out of the way. You know, I'm just working a little at a time. The Sokezi double-sided tape is really, really, really nice because it's very, very thin. Okay, so I'm going to take a pin, and I'm just going to pin it right there to hold it. Then I can get this whole area all in one shot. All right, so now we're coming to the very end. I hope I cut it long enough. I think I cut it just long enough. Oh, I'm about 1/4 of an inch too short. That's all right. Okay, so now I'm just gonna fuse this last little bit on. Okay, oops. Okay. All right, so now that I've gone all the way around, I'm just going to let it cool for a second. And then I'm going to peel away the protective paper. Now, just because you're using a 1/2 inch wide fusible tape doesn't mean that your hem has to be 1/2 inch. Okay, so for example, if I want to make my hem a little bit deeper, I can. So I can fold it up a whole inch, because remember, when we sew the hem, we're going to be sewing it up at the top. Yeah, she was being a very good girl. All right, go lay down, lay down. Come on, we're almost done. Lay down. Lay down, lay down, lay down. I cannot get over how good this 6-month-old Vizsla puppy is doing. She's going to get a treat when we get off. All right, so I'm going to fold this up 1 inch. Okay, so you can see that the tape was only 1/2 inch. I'm going to fold it up 1 inch, and I'm going to press it down. Yes. I'm going to go all the way around. Okay. Okay, are we losing it? Go lay down. Go lay down. All right, so I'm gonna just fold this up 1 inch. Yep. Sadie's helping me. So in my lap here. Okay, so I'm just gonna press it 1 inch. You know, and again, I'm just working a little at a time. I'm going to finger press it first, and then I'm going to okay, almost done. Okay, so I've made myself a round here. Let me just give this last little bit a press. Oh, Lisa, she is super cute. I have 2 of my own Vizslas, and of course everybody thinks their dogs are the cutest. But I'll tell you, this puppy, she is like a love. She's back in her bed. I cannot believe what a good girl she's being. All right, so let's look at the hem before we sew it here. Okay, so here is our hem. Oh, she already, I shouldn't have talked about her. Go lay down, go lay down, go lay down, go lay down. Get in there and lay down. Okay, so see how nice that looks? Okay, it's turned up the inch and it's ready to go. So now let's get our serger back over here. Now, Baby Lock and other brands of sergers make hem guides. These two holes here, these are to screw in a hem guide, which would make it perfectly easy for you to match up, you know, the edge of your, you know, the hem edge with your stitching. I do not own a hem guide, so I'm going to show you the way I like to do it is I'm going to put my fabric underneath like this, and I'm going to get it so it's really nice, and you know, I can take advantage of this whole flat area, and I can see the indentation of my hem here. I don't know if you guys can see. Let me zoom in a little bit here, if you can see it or not. So what I'm going to try to do is keep this outer or very left-hand indicator ridge even with the edge of the hem, because the way these indicator ridges work is this very left-hand one would tell me the position of the needle if I had the left cover hem needle in, but I don't. I have the center one, so the second one in would tell me where the center needle is stitching, and then the right one would be this third one in. So if I keep the edge of my hem even with this very left hand, or maybe even a little bit farther, I'll try to keep it even with maybe even the edge of my presser foot here. That'll help keep it even. So now I'm going to start stitching. And I just wanted to show you, see how easily it went over that seam because we flipped those seam allowances? It really does make a big difference. So in this case, I'm trying to sew straight. Just get all this out of the way here. Okay. All right, so let's just go slow. Okay, did you see how nice it went over that side seam? I mean, my stitches did get a little small, but I don't have a bump there like sometimes that happens. Okay. All right, I'm coming to my start point. And before I get to my start point, I want to untangle my threads because I'm going to have them going left and right so I don't run them over. So I'm going to get those ready. I'll show you as I get up to it. Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I have my chain looper and my right needle in my right hand, and I have the red left needle in the left one. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to line up my center needle with this indicator ridge and my right needle with this third indicator ridge. Because that's where it's stitching, and then I'm just going to hand walk it. So I'm not pressing on the gas now. Oh, God bless you. I'm just turning the hand wheel. Okay, and once I see that I'm overlapping my stitching, and I can tell that I'm getting to my stitching because these threads will tell me that I'm now past them, I'm going to lift my needles. I'm going to lift my presser foot and I'm going to pull this towards me, then I'm going to pull it away. And then I'm going to, actually let me pull a little bit more. I think I screwed that up. I should have pulled a little bit more. But let me cut this so I can show you how I'm going to finish it. Okay, let's look at my stop-start point here. Oh, and you can see I totally went crooked. They don't even match. So I'm really not sure why that happened, because I might take that out and try to fix it. That's a little bit too uneven for me. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tease the threads to the underside so I can tie a knot. That's how I'm going to finish this. So these two here, let me just see if I can fix this here. I'm going to take that thread out. Yeah, I didn't match that at all. I did a bad job. Alright, so this falls under, not everything goes perfectly. But I do want to try to get that blue thread to come back here. Okay, so see, I've got the blue one. Now I'm just going to get the red one to come back here and join us. This can be a little fussy. I think I'm going to take it out a little bit more. So if I back it up a couple stitches, it's almost, the red one's almost even actually. So now I'm back here. So I should be able to get it out, get it to join us in the back. Let's see here. Just separating out all the stitches so I can find it. Okay, so it's right here. Let's see if I can grab it. Fussy. Oh, I think I got it. Did I get it? Nope. Okay, so I got it now. So you can see there's no threads on the right side. And actually, if I had unstitched the blue one a couple more stitches, it would have matched almost perfectly. Because you can see my red matches perfectly now. I just took out the few that were uneven that I overshot. So now I can tie all of this into a neat knot. And I think what I'm going to do is I'll tie the yellows. You know, they're all in slightly different locations now because I unstitched part of it. So I'll tie the threads that are close together. Well, actually, if I tie the yellow ones, where's the blue ones? Here, let me just see. Well, first of all, let me clip the threads that are not part of the cover hem. So these white threads are part of the serge seam. So let me just cut those so they're not in the way. That'll make it a little bit easier to see what's going on here. Let me just cut these two. Let me just cut these. Alright, so now I can grab two blues and a yellow and 2 reds and a yellow. Okay, so I've got all 6 threads here like this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go right over left, and I'm not pulling it tight, just loose, and then I'm going to go left over right to make a square knot. Square knots don't come undone. Okay, so now that I've done that, I've got my knot. I'm going to then take my large eye needle, and I'm just going to go through some of this chain stitching, maybe about a 1/2 inch. I'm going to insert all of the tails, I'm going to make them a little bit shorter here, through the eye of the needle. And then I'm going to pull them through the chain looper thread. And that'll be a nice, neat finish. So see, now I've pulled it through. Okay, and then I'll probably hit it with some fray check right there and call it a day. And then after it dries, I'll trim that. But let's take a look at the hem. You can see that that makes a really nice, smooth hem. Okay, so if you have any questions about using your cover hem to hem your crop layering tee or anything else for that matter, please let me know. But I'm pretty pleased with that. And I think if I spend more time working with my cover hem, I could actually even figure out better ways to make that tension on the left and right needle behave. I'm going to go through and triage my machine, and I'm going to use the there's a Puffy brand of dental floss. So it's not that slick, skinny wax stuff. It's more of a it's got some width to it. I'm going to use that to thread through my tension discs to make sure I don't have any lint or other things causing the tension to get screwed up on my chain needles for my cover hem. So I'm going to play with that and see if I can get a little bit better tension. But if you're struggling with your serger to get the cover hem tensions correct, definitely put in 3 different color threads so you can really see where it's going wrong, because all you should see on the wrong side of your cover hem is the chain looper thread and little dots for the needles. Okay, and then from the right side, let me just go back over here, it should look nice and smooth. Let me make it a little bit lighter so you can see. Nice and smooth like that. Okay, so that's my cover hem. So I showed you how to start and stop and secure the ends, and I also showed you how to stitch in the round today. So I think it was a pretty action-packed episode. Oh, Lisa's asking, do you thread with the dental floss and stitch to clean the tensions? No, I actually just floss it. Let me show you. Okay, so let me just lower this and pick it up here like this. All right, so what I do with the floss is, and you can actually do it, it doesn't even need to be floss. It could also be just a heavier thread, because what I like to do is grab it from, oops, a minute, you can't see what I'm showing you. Here we go. Okay, so what I do is I grab it here, and I grab it back here, and I literally just floss it back and forth, like this. And you can do that on all of your tension, all your tension things. So on your overlock, you can do that. Over here on my chain looper, I can floss it up and down. Of course, I'm in the way again. Move me over here. I'll move over here for now. Okay, so you can take the the thread from above and below and just floss it back and forth like this. So either a heavier thread, like a 12 weight or an 8 weight thread, or a dental floss, something with a little more width to it, and just floss them back and forth. And sometimes that will clean out anything that you have that might be, you know, linty or anything in your tension discs. And you can do that for your cover hem and for your overlock tension thread paths. So that's one way to triage without bringing it in for service. Now, I do want to say I just brought this in for service, and I probably haven't stitched more than a few hours on it since I got it serviced. So, you know, I'm going to have to just see about that. But the bottom line is, you want to make sure your tensions are set properly. And if you have a machine that doesn't have, or I'm sorry, if you have a machine that has tension settings for each thread, then you can customize and tighten just the needle that's giving you a hard time. So definitely try using 3 different threads, different colors, so you can really see where the thread is too loose, and then you can customize your tension settings if you're working on a serger that's got individual tension settings. All right, so that concludes the Pattern Hack Attack sew along. Next Friday, I am going to be in South Carolina teaching stretch jeans with the Savannah, I think it's the Savannah River ASG chapter. I'm leaving Thursday, and I will be home early Sunday morning, so it's going to be a quick trip, but there will be no Fab Fit Friday next week. I will be posting in our group behind the scenes from our jean fitting workshop, so I'll share what I'm doing with you there, but there will be no Fab Fit Friday next week. And the following Friday, we're going to start a new project, and it's going to be an accessory, and it's going to be pulled literally out of the pages of Vogue. So stay tuned for more details on that. I will give you more of a heads up on that as we get closer. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate all of you for following along and sewing with me. And I really want to thank everybody who purchased a Grading for the Home Sewer workbook, because I think that's probably the single most popular thing I've ever put on sale. And based on the number of people who ordered it, I got a ton of orders, and that just, I don't know, makes my heart happy. So literally, if you need help grading, if you have questions about pattern grading, email me, at my jsterndesigns37 at gmail, and I will help you. But I just want to let you all know that I appreciate each and every one of you for sewing along with me and supporting J Stern Designs. So thank you. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. If you live in the, in the area where summer's coming to an end, get out there and enjoy this weekend, because I think I'm going to be maybe having my last float of the season, and then it's going to be time to close the pool up, so the water's getting a little bit nippy. But anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you on Tuesday for a Fit Tip Tuesday. Remember, no Fab Fit Friday this week. And if you are into machine embroidery, I'm going to show how to use the compact little embroidery frames that come with the Brother PRS 100 to personalize your baseball hat. So that's what I'll be sharing on Sunday this week. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for watching, and have a great weekend. Oh, I'm sorry. Diane says, have a great in-person class, and I'm so excited about next Fab Fit Friday. Thank you. Well, I'm excited about it too. So stay tuned for details. I will let members of the J Stern Designs Fit Sew Embroider group know about the topic before everybody else, because that's where I post my sort of heads up thing. So if you're on Facebook, be sure to join me there in J Stern Designs Fit Sew Embroider, because it's a good place to ask questions and connect with me and connect with other, our other sewing friends. So Anyway, all right, you guys, I'm going now. I cannot believe the luck I have. Look at this. I'm going to show you. There she is. So when you look at what a good girl she is being, I can't believe it. Sadie. All right, so I really lucked out. Such a good girl. All right, you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you very, very soon. Okie doke. Bye.